I would like to nominate the Newsletter Journal for being Newcastle's newspaper.
Absolutely, yes.
And I also want to backdate this nomination to their campaign, the Dust It Off for the Dogies, that took place before the all-school reunion.
That we need, the things that we need to solve the city problems and to look to the future, Lord. We pray that you continue to be with each of us and help the city to grow. For we ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Does the council entertain a motion to approve the agenda? We have a motion properly seconded. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed signify by saying nay. The motion carries. Does the council entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of January 5th, 2026? We have a motion properly seconded. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed signify by saying nay. Motion carries. Does the council have any nominations for recognition?
I would like to nominate both Black Hills Energy and Powder River Energy for the efforts of their crews in getting us through this blackout here that we had last week.
Thank you, Councilman Ross. Is there any other nominations for recognition? Hearing none, I'll add mine. I would like to nominate the Newsletter Journal for being Newcastle's newspaper.
Absolutely, yes.
And I also want to backdate this nomination to their campaign, the Dust It Off for the Dogies, that took place before the all-school reunion. I want to recognize the paper because papers are in trouble across our state. There's a lot of local papers that are closing their doors, and the Newsletter Journal has been our paper, and they help us meet the requirements that we need to post our minutes, and they do things that should be recognized in our community. So I just wanted to take a moment to recognize the Newsletter Journal.
Can I add to that, Honor? Your Honor, that they just came home from Newcastle with another boatload of nice awards for individuals like Walter Sprague and other articles and writers. And it's just amazing what our little paper is doing. I think Tim Dean is doing a great job down there with her team, and it's just good to recognize them.
Thank you, Councilman Voss. Is there any other nomination for recognition? Hearing none, we'll go ahead and move on to certificates of recognition, which there are none. Moving on to citizens business verbal. Item number 1, Kathy Levasseur.
Do I need to go to the
For the traveling Vietnam memorial wall. And you can step up to the podium, or you could just stand up there.
Okay, I'll just stand up here. I want to let you know that we have officially signed the contract, and we will definitely be getting the traveling Vietnam wall. We'll be here August 13th through the 17th, and we might need some man help, but we're not necessarily looking for city workers, just personal volunteers. And I guess that's all I have to report. It's going to be out at the building site if we can do that. And the secondary site would be behind the museum. But hopefully we can do it at our site.
Well, it's not our property, so if the bank's okay with it, then I'm sure that
Okay.
that would be just fine. And then,
Okay,
I'm looking forward to manning the wall.
everyone's been very positive about it. In addition to that, I would like to ask you to consider declaring 2026 the year of the veteran in Newcastle, Wyoming. Thank
Oh.
you.
Sure. Let's read a proclamation. Maybe I'll do it at the next meeting.
Well, think about it. That's
No,
all I'm
I think
asking.
I think it's a great suggestion. I think we should go with that, Kathy. Does
Thank
anybody
you.
have any questions for Kathy? I think it's fantastic, that you worked so hard to get,
I had a lot of help.
well, all of your help, everyone that worked on it.
Thank you.
But, I think it's gonna be a great thing for Newcastle and, it's wonderful. So thank you so much for
You're
working on
welcome.
it.
It is gonna be great.
Does anybody have any further questions for Kathy? Hearing none, we'll move on to old business. Item number 1, Jen Womack with the ADA compliance for our website.
I think as most of you know, my company does the city of Newcastle.
I did, I jumped.
Do
Go
we
ahead.
need to reroute?
No, I got excited and I jumped agenda item, but it's okay, go ahead,
I
Jen.
mean, ADA compliance and websites, I can see how that topic would result in that. Anyway, my company does the city's website, and Stacy reached out to us about meeting requirements for ADA compliance. As I researched it, and Dublin may correct me on this, I'm not sure it's a scenario of meeting requirements, but continually working on the website to ensure things are as user-friendly as possible to as many audiences as possible, and accessible. I think regardless of the guidelines, it's probably something we should do and want to do anyway. We did look at a plugin, and as I researched that further, it will sweep your website, but it didn't quite get us where we wanted to be. So when I met with Stacy a couple weeks ago, we looked at an alternative approach where we would increase your monthly fee on website maintenance, $50 a month, and then start going through your web pages one at a time and going down the list and checking the marks and making sure we're exactly where we need to be. As part of that, we'd also make a shift from our current agreement where Stacy sends us changes, we make them, Greg sends us changes, we make them. And we switch into a proactive role on that, where we start rolling through your website, you know, a page or two a month, updating pictures, reaching out to city staff, taking a deeper look at that, and asking for changes instead of waiting for them to arrive when we see things that need updated. So I think Dublin had said 2027 to have that implemented. I did a rough count and there's about 24 pages, 24, 25 on your website. So if we get a couple a month, that would get us to that goal ahead of schedule and give us some time to review. One of the questions I had for Dublin is, does that website, do we have to have a certification or do we just need to be able to show, hey, we're making headway?
So
We're trying.
one of the things that has kind of come up in how everyone is implementing the new website is there actually are businesses who will do a scan. I'm not sure why there's the separate scan, and then I assume probably because if you do the scan, you can say, well, you need to be up to date on this. The scan can show apparently where you aren't compliant in terms of, you know, captions or whatever it might be. But I think the main thing with the compliance, it kind of comes down to whether or not if you guys, I don't know if you have the scanning capability, but I assume that there's probably a program that can be downloaded to have that scanning capability. But again, that's kind of a thing. So.
Yeah, and I can't say for sure whether or not we'll use that, but that's the plugin I was talking about. It does part of that legwork for us, but part of what I've read said sometimes it falls short. So you also have to go through and make sure you're building things in a way that are user friendly.
Well, I think, for one, I know it's kind of an initial start to this, and it is new for me as well. So I will have to be delving into that a little bit more, and that way you and I at least can, I can say, well, maybe that probably needs an update or whatever it might be, but it is interesting that they have a scan that you can, use, but sometimes it doesn't meet the actual threshold.
Right.
So, kind of a learning experience for the city attorney as well.
I was like, scan it, but don't trust it. I'm like, why scan it? But
Yeah. So, I'll be looking into it, especially on the ADA website. I know when I sent you that link, you probably clicked on it and there was 200 different tabs that you can open up to figure out on that, but I'll be taking a deeper dive on that, just so that when we do get to that sort of April 2027 deadline, that hopefully all the bells are checked on that, so.
yeah, I did glance down through it and I was like, I hope there's a checklist at the end of this giant document, but yeah. Any questions for us?
No, I don't think so. So you're gonna provide us with an updated agreement at the, for us to approve at the next?
Yeah, I'm happy to do that.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank
Yes,
you.
Jim. Thanks, Jen. Thanks for being here.
Yes.
There was no other questions for Jen? Okay. So now, since I got so excited and I jumped to old business, we'll move back to citizens' business and writing, electrical and plumbing licenses. And I'll read you guys the licenses. These are all three of them that we approved. So the following, electrical and plumbing licenses for CMS Next Tech, Ace Electrical Services, Precision Mechanical LLP. The following is requested a license as follows. All fees have been paid. Copies of their state license and proof of insurance and bond have been provided for 2026. So the electrical contractor, Ace Electrical Service Master Electrician, Alan Ainsworth Clark. Limited plumber, plumbing contractor license for CMS Next Tech. Limited plumber, David Grizchek. Plumbing contractor Precision Mechanical LLP. Master plumber John Benedict. Journeyman Chuck Hoach. Trey Sharkey. Limited plumber Austin Youngblood. And I apologize in advance if I butchered anybody's name. Is there a motion to approve the electrical and plumbing licenses?
I move we approve the electrical and plumbing licenses.
Second?
There's a motion properly seconded. Is there any discussion?
Do we know where this Ace Electrical and CMS Next Tech are out of?
Ace Electrical.
I don't know where the main headquarters is out of.
Wow, their main headquarters is located in Melbourne, Florida. But they're up here and they want to do some contracting work in our community.
The charge shop is shop.
And oh, there it is. Rapid City for Precision Mechanical LLP. And what's the last one? Thanks for the question, Councilman. Who are we missing? We got two.
CMS Next Tech.
CMS Next Tech. CMS Next Tech was the Florida one.
It's Ace Electrical.
Precision Mechanicals, Rapid City, Ace Electricals, Melbourne, Florida, and then
In addition to the weekly printed version of the newsletter journal, we also promote our community and share important information on our award-winning website, newslj.com, and in our weekly email newsletter, Nuke Now. We also connect with readers through various social media platforms and invite you to check us out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can even take a look at a recent meeting of the City Council, School Board, or County Commission on our YouTube channel. We do hope that you will go to newslj.com and subscribe today, and we look forward to making all of our great content available to you. But regardless of your level of support, we thank you from the bottom of our hearts for doing your part to preserve a free and independent local press.
Same,
Oh, I think they're the same company, they just
just have a
have,
couple.
So
yeah.
one's electrical, one's plumbing.
Yeah,
Yeah, so, CMS Next Tech and Ace Electrical are both out of Melbourne, Florida for their main office.
No doubt they got too hot down there and came up here to cool off.
Okay. Oh, is there any further discussion? Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed signify by saying nay. The motion carries. And then bear with me, council and public, I'll get you signed really quick. I wouldn't count on it, Councilman Blunt. Okay, we're through citizens' business, verbal, done old business, now on to new business. Item number 1, Newcastle Volunteer Fire Department 2026 election.
Mr. Mayor, I have the honor of informing the council of your 26 officers for the Newcastle Fire Department. The treasurer this year is going to be Curtis Farley. The secretary this year is going to be Jesse Rideau. Assistant chief will be Merrick Peterson, and I am going to be acting as the chief this year. With that being said, I have a disclosure statement that I would like to read to the council and to the public. I, Chris Kinney, hereby disclose for the public record that I currently serve in 2 capacities for the city of Newcastle and an elected member of the city council, and as volunteer fire chief in Newcastle Fire Department. I receive no compensation for my service as fire chief. In order to avoid any actual or perceived conflict of interest, I will fully disclose this dual role and will recuse myself from any discussions, deliberation, or vote of the city council involving matters that directly affect the fire department, including but not limited to department budget, contract, personnel matters, or my appointment or as fire service as chief. This disclosure is made in the interest of transparency and compliance with ethical standards. This time I will recuse myself.
Okay, now that Councilman / Fire Chief Kenny has stepped out of the council chambers, does the council entertain a motion to approve the 2026 elections for the fire department?
Your Honor, I move that we approve the 2026 election for the fire department with Mr. Chris Kinney as chief.
Second.
We have a motion properly seconded. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed signify by saying nay. Motion carries. Yes, congratulations to everyone elected. Did somebody maybe bring Chief Kenny back into the council chambers so he can get back in his role as a councilman?
He changed back into a councilman.
Thank you, Councilman Kenny. It's gonna, the Councilman Kenny's new role as fire chief is going to change some of the form and function of how the council meetings are going to go. He will step out whenever there is anything on the claims in regard to the fire department, or when the budget is proposed. The fire department budget will be separated, and then Councilman Kenny / Fire Chief Kenny will step out of the council chambers and recuse himself. So that's the only thing that's gonna change.
And I will have a delegate in place for the budget.
To provide the budget reports. And then we're also kind of playing with the idea of working with the chief to have one of the officers provide a report at least once a quarter for the council about what's going on with the fire department and, calls and activities. So, and then we might do it more often if it works and it's going well, but it's something that we're kind of playing with right now, and so exciting things to come. But congratulations,
This Mayor.
yeah, and congratulations to all the elected. Is there anything further about the 2026 election for the fire department? Hearing nothing, we'll go ahead and move on to committee and council member reports. Item number 1, wood bank. So council, as I talked about at the last meeting, we were kind of working with a local contractor and trying to figure out the form and function of how a wood bank would operate in the city of Newcastle. There's a lot that needs to be ironed out before we can get it going, but my marching orders from the last meeting that we had was to try to locate a spot to actually stage the wood. It sounds like we might have 23 cords of wood that could be donated to start the wood bank. So I'm working with our public works to try to identify a location where we can stage the wood and it can be processed. And then there's a lot that needs to be worked out. We need to form a steering committee and try to find some local folks that are willing to donate to the wood bank. So it's something that I'm going to try to work on, and maybe I might grab some of the council up to work on. But and then if we can get it going, the one that's going on in Buffalo is a great success, and they're helping a lot of people, and they have a lot of volunteers. So it's still in the works, but I just wanted to provide another update for the council and public. Is there any questions about the wood bank? Hearing none, we'll move on to item number 2, penny tax. So there was a scramble today, and our grant writer, Beth Blackwell, produced us a report and a memo in regard to the penny tax, and it came out this morning, and unfortunately I haven't had a lot of time to scrutinize what's written here. So if any of the council have, I'd be pleased to hear what you think. But I do know that the town of Upton is on board with moving forward with the penny tax in some form or function, but we're going to have to figure out what we'd like to get on the ballot before the board of the county commissioners. So I am looking at trying to get on the commissioner's agenda the second meeting in February so that we can talk about this. So if this is something that the council is interested in pursuing, and would somebody entertain a motion to allow me to put myself on the agenda for the second meeting of I might be a little bit ahead of the curve here. Let's all look at this and then come back at the next meeting.
The first meeting of February.
The first meeting of February, and let's try to decide what we would like to approach the commissioners with And then I guess I'll just get it on your plate. Then if, at that time, the council would be willing to entertain a motion to send me before the Board of County Commissioners to discuss it with them and try to get it on the ballot. But we'll revisit this at the next meeting. But it lays, Beth did a great job putting this together, and it lays out all of the particulars for the penny tax. So the 5th penny, the 6th penny, and the general state sales tax. And then we've also had it on Public Works' radar to actually come up with some projects that we would like to further using the 6th penny or 5th penny, whatever the council kind of decides they want to move forward with. So, is there any further questions about the penny tax right now? I think we all need to have a little bit more time to digest this one. Nothing from the council? Okay, nothing from the public? Nothing, okay. We'll go ahead.
Mr. Mayor.
There it is. Go ahead, Mr. Lacy.
Like, address the council, as you and the council. Anyway, I'm opposed to that tax. I'm opposed to any more taxes. We pay enough. The penny tax can be a dedicated tax, as you say. Let me give you examples of what happened some years ago at Dow Park. When the city took out the wading pool and the playground equipment up there because they deemed it unsafe, the citizens in that area, my daughter-in-law was one of them, wanted to get some playground equipment in that park, and they approached the city, and the city said, we have no budget. Okay, so she was in a club, I can't remember the name of it, this is probably 22 years ago or more, right around that area. Anyway, she was in a club, so she got the club members to get together and approach various businesses in the area to fund park equipment. And they did. And if you go to Dow Park now, that equipment is still there. And there is a plaque dedicated to that group of women who got that park equipment put in there. So I said, you're talking about what you can't do. We could do all of these things. Well, sure, we could do all of these. I could do a lot more too if I had a lot more money, but I don't. So my point being, I'm going to throw one more thought out here. I'm going to throw in the lodging tax and any other tax that the guy from Minnesota pays here, because we can't get our stuff together and make a budget where we can't live without that tax. Now, they do the same thing in Minnesota. We go to Minnesota, I got to pay a tax to them. I get no benefit from that. They get no benefit when they pay tax here, okay? Anyway, I could go further, but I've gone far enough. It's just something to think about.
We've spoken before, Mr. Lacy, and I do appreciate your comment. I've seen the penny tax work with great success in other communities across Wyoming. And one of the good things is it goes on the ballot, so you can vote against it.
Sure.
And
I understand that.
so we're putting it in the citizens' hands. So if everybody votes against it, we don't get the penny tax, and then nothing ventured, nothing gained.
But my thought is there's other opportunities or ways to do things other than raise that penny. And if I hear, well, a penny is nothing, well, if it's nothing, what do you want it for?
Oh, no,
Because it amounts to
it's something, it's something.
Exactly.
That's why we're trying
Just
to
another
pursue it.
penny, just another penny.
Yeah, so that's why we're trying to pursue it, or
Okay.
I'm asking the council to
Sure.
look into it. And then we'll see what they have to say on February 2nd. But, we lean on our local businesses pretty heavily for a lot of different things.
Sure.
So, this spreads it out across the people in our county.
This place is full of, you can tell the people that like to be with old people because they really take care of you good and are very kind.
Twice a day, every day, the activities people have an organized activity that's always interesting.
Everybody loves to play bingo. We play it 3 times a week here. We also have ceramics that you can paint. Really pleasant to live here. It's a good place to be.
To pay this extra penny tax to try to do things that I hear people complain about quite often, like fix streets or, and we inherited what we have now, right? So we're trying to do something about that. So if leveraging a few pennies through the penny tax gets a street paved or gets, some of our infrastructure fixed, then so be it. I think that that's a positive use of the money, and I look forward to seeing how people vote for it. I think it's going to be on the general election ballot. So if the council decides to move forward with it. So it's kind of in its inception right now, the idea before our council, and we'll see how it progresses. So thanks again for your comment, and I understand your position on the
Can I add one more comment?
Sure, go ahead. We're like ahead of schedule, so.
When does it become government's responsibility to create recreation for your kids?
I just heard a sharp inhale. Do you have something to add? Okay, after all, Mr. Lacey, it was one of my campaign promises to try to do things for kids in our community, right? And I want to see kids in our community flourish, and
I do as well.
I want to
kids
see
here and grandkids and great grandkids here.
Yeah, so even if you don't have kids in the house, you're paying your property taxes so that you can fund the school, or you can fund things for other people's kids, even if you don't have kids anymore. I think it's a positive use of your tax money. So, is there anything further? You guys?
No, thank you.
No? Okay. All right, so we'll go ahead and move on to, does anybody have anything for Mr. Lacey? Any council? No? Okay, I don't want to move on if everybody's not ready. Okay, moving on to item number 3, engineering in Weston County. So, I've worked with, I talked to one of the county commissioners, and they're currently contracting their engineering through various engineers in the state. It's usually roughly around 10 hours a month that they need engineering for. So the county commissioner said, hey Tyrell, why don't we share your engineer, and then the county could voucher it, we already got him here. So I approached Stephen Dietrich, our engineer, and I asked him if he could possibly take on another 10 hours a month in engineering services to support our folks at the county. And of course, we would have to enter into a memorandum of agreement with the county to loan Steve out to them when they need engineering, which I don't think the county needs engineering that often, but when they do, they asked if maybe we could share him. So Steve said that he is able to fill that capacity, and it's something that I wanted to present to the council. And that was another one of my campaign promises, is I wanted to have a good relationship with the Board of County Commissioners and a functional working relationship with them. And I think sharing resources with another entity is a good way to work towards that. So, this would also be something that we would add to the agenda for the second week of February for the Board of County Commissioners meeting. So I am going to ask the council to entertain a motion to allow me to go and approach the Board of County Commissioners, Weston County Board of County Commissioners for sharing our engineer Stephen Dietrich with them approximately 10 hours a month.
Good idea, I think.
Would you care to make that into a motion, ma'am?
I'll make that motion to let Mr. Dietrich share, I mean, what, do you want to put a cap on that hours?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I had a brief discussion about that and just try to lay out what how the nuts and bolts of it's going to work in that agreement. I think that's probably the better place to try to describe that, no more than or a range of hours. And then the rest of it would be, let's see how it goes.
So do we want to say no more than 10 hours to start?
I don't know how to answer that because I don't know the nature of all the work that they have
I
planned.
don't know.
Maybe let's just limit it to, the mayor can go and talk to the Board of County Commissioners, and maybe the rest of the board won't want to entertain that idea, and it won't go anywhere. So if you allow me to
We just don't
go and
want
talk.
them, give them taking Steve's time away from the city.
Right.
Have you read his last report, Councilwoman Ann? Mr. Dietrich's last report is?
I'm just saying, we just don't, I mean, he's employed by the city, number one.
Well, they're not pay us back,
I understand that.
but I recall other times that they were slow about that.
So does the council entertain a
Yes,
motion that I
yes.
go and approach the Board of County Commissioners about sharing Steve with them?
Yes, we did make that motion.
Okay, is there a second?
Okay, I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion properly seconded. Is there any further discussion? Any discussion?
Yes.
Yeah.
The finances, how's this gonna be split up?
So the way it was proposed is they would just pay for his time when they used him. So it wouldn't be like a split of finances, it would just be extra duty that Steve said he was willing to take on. And then they would just voucher us or pay us for his time. So it's almost like a second job for Steve. That's the way it was presented to me, and we're gonna have to talk to the commissioner about it. If you guys approve.
We don't want them taking his time away from the city, and we're paying for that time, and the county's paying for that time.
Yeah. So I'm sure that he would have to clock out in that form and function, or he would have to do it after hours.
So wouldn't he voucher the county himself as a subcontractor?
I think so, yeah.
So it wouldn't have anything to do with the city?
Well, we have to agree to allow him to do it, I mean.
Yeah, but you're saying after hours, so that's got nothing
I
to do
don't
with
think
us.
that's gonna happen. How much engineering you know takes place after hours? Come on. It's gonna happen during the day, and we just, whatever time he spends over there, we just voucher it or send him a bill. Hopefully they pay it. That's the part I'm kinda concerned about.
Mr. Mayor,
That's where I'm leaning.
the motion on the table right now is to allow you to approach the county commissioners
To see what
to
their
discuss
thoughts
this,
are on
correct?
it. Yep, that's correct.
That's all it is.
And then when they bring back,
We can
whether
talk
a
about the
draft
rest.
MOU, then we can review that, tailor it,
Right.
modify wording, whatever it is to cover these bases. Right now, I believe it's just the first initial tough phase to get into that
Yep.
Discussion.
discussion.
Yep, that's where it's at. So is there any further discussion?
I just wanted to remind you, when you go there to discuss with him, that he drives around a truck that's paid by the city. And that truck also carries with it an expense of the city, not just his hours. Just thought I'd mention that.
Okay, well, I guess there's more stuff that we have to add, but it's just an initial conversation to see if it's even gonna go anywhere. So is there any further discussion?
Then we'll iron out everything.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed signify by saying nay. The ayes have it. All right, we'll go talk to the county commissioners on the second meeting of February. Okay, so, item number 4, American Legal, this is just an update for the council. So, in Clerk Treasurer Stacy Haggerty's correspondence with American Legal, they're currently working on our ordinance book revision. They said that we probably won't hear anything from them for a while. So like even a few months. So they're working on it right now, and I just wanted to update the council that once they get to a point that it might get kind of busy for us, because we'll probably have to start calling a lot of committee meetings to spend some time reviewing the various chapters in our ordinance book to make sure that they're taking out the things that we want and that they're leaving in the things that we want. So it's just an update to let the council know that we're busy working on the ordinance book revision and that it's in the works and the ball's in their court right now. So is there any questions on American Legal ordinance book review? Hearing nothing, I'll move on to department head reports. Item number 1, Clerk Treasurer Stacy Haggerty.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just reminders about the Wyoming Department of Transportation STIP presentation is at 6 o'clock, February 2nd. And the audit will be that following meeting, which is in fact on a Tuesday, February 17th. Both of those are at 6 o'clock p.m. My other item is I had sent everybody the letter from the Department of Audit for our non-compliance. I was made aware of this earlier last week when Beth contacted me for one of the grants she was inquiring about. So I've never received a letter of this sort before, and our audit presentations had always been in February. But I guess long story short, our auditor did send an email requesting an extension, and that was granted. So everything should be fine for the funding that we're requesting in February. And did anybody have any questions about that?
No, just to clarify, this is the first time that you've been told that we were late on the audit.
Correct.
And it's always been done this way for the last 4 years I've been on the council, and then my first year as mayor, they throw us a curveball, and apparently we're out of compliance, but you're addressing
I
it.
believe we're back in now with that extension being granted.
Okay. Does anybody have any further questions for Clerk Treasurer Haggerty?
How long's that extension?
And through, they emailed them, telling them our presentation was on the 17th.
Thank you for doing that.
Also, thank you. And then my last thing was, did anybody have any questions on the financial reports? Okay, that's all I have.
Thank you, Stacy.
Gordo in gray all the way. I think it would be an epic It's what Chuck's been picking the fight with him forever. Mark has responded a couple of times this year and gotten hot under the collar. Says he wasn't hot under the collar. I can believe it this last time that he maybe thought, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and ask him to step outside because it's what a Wyoming guy would do. I actually think it was a good play by him. I think he follows it up right now and says, hey, you know what? I think me and Chuck Gray ought to settle this like men. And so I'm going to run for the U.S. House seat.
Let's settle it on the ballot instead of the ring.
Yep, and God bless Jenny Gordon. And I know that's a burden on families and everything if he does win. Chuck Gray is full speed ahead on it, but I want to see it, man. I want to see Gray Gordon, and I think, we'll close on that, Alexis. Let's see it. Give the people the grudge match that they've been waiting for. Give the Wyoming voters the race that they deserve.
Moving on to Public Works Supervisor Greg Stump, and he's ill tonight and couldn't attend the meeting. So the unmet housing grant resolution is the only thing that we need to address. So Public Works Supervisor and our grant writer have been moving forward with trying to procure some funding in a joint venture with the town of Upton. So I'll read the resolution. So unmet housing grants resolution, a resolution authorizing submission of an unmet housing grant application to the State Loan and Investment Board jointly on behalf of the governing bodies for the city of Newcastle and town of Upton for the purpose of dilapidated to renovated. The purpose of this project is to address the housing needs in city of Newcastle and town of Upton by dealing with the dilapidated properties around each community. The grant funds would be used to purchase dilapidated properties, rehabilitate them, then either selling these properties for homes to be built on or work with a builder to build a home. Funds from the sale or of the properties would be placed in a separate account which would be used to reinvest in the communities through the purchase, rehabilitate, and sale of additional properties. Witnesseth. Whereas the governing body for the city of Newcastle and town of Upton desires to participate in the unmet housing grant program to assist in financing this request, and whereas the governing body of the city of Newcastle and town of Upton recognizes the need for the request, and whereas the unmet housing grant program requires that certain criteria be met as described in the application instructions governing the program, and to the best of our knowledge, this application meets those criteria. And whereas if any of the dispersed grant funds are later deemed to not comply with the Office of State Lands and Investments, OSLI, criteria, Wyoming statutes overseeing the use of State of Wyoming funds, and Article 6.6 of the Wyoming Constitution, the grant application agrees to repay the ineligible grant funds within 15 days of such finding to the OSLI. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the governing body of the city of Newcastle and town of Upton that a grant application in the amount of $5 million be submitted to the State Loan and Investment Board for consideration to assist in the funding, dilapidated, renovated. Be it further resolved that Beth Blackwell, Greg Stump, Kelly Miller, Mark Lindstrom are hereby designated as authorized representatives of the city of Newcastle and town of Upton to act on behalf of the governing bodies on all matters related to this grant application. So passed, approved, and adopted this 20th day of January 2026. Does the council entertain a motion to approve the resolution for unmet housing grants?
Mr. Mayor, I approve the unmet housing grant resolution.
Second.
You have a motion properly seconded. Is there any discussion?
Yeah, just when you read it, you said Article 6, it's Article 16, 6.
Oh, excuse me, yep. Thanks for pointing that out. Do I need to reread it?
Please don't.
No.
Or just that section?
Because he's just passing the unmet housing grants resolution, and it has the 16 there.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Kenny. Any further discussion?
When this started, we have things in the works and the plans, I guess, in the next steps of this, was the grants there, how we progress them if we do get awarded to go through this process. I hate to get to the point of where we got a grant awarded to us and we get to the bike path situation where we got stopped halfway through it and couldn't get it completed, and then we had to turn the money back because we couldn't get the project done.
So to answer your question, Councilman Stevenson, there's been an inventory done of all the dilapidated properties in the city of Newcastle. We have council working on the legalities of how we would move forward with addressing the dilapidated house issue. This has been something that I know that members of this council have been in great favor of, cleaning up our town and trying to make the space usable for people to move in. We have some, prospective good things happening on the horizon. So if, the rare earth minerals thing takes off, that's what this is kind of in preparation for, is we could possibly be in a boom cycle, and maybe we would be able to clean up and provide Newcastle as a place for, people that work in that industry to house themselves, if we can get the properties cleaned up. So I think trying to figure out how to enact what we want to do with this grant in this joint venture with another community is going to be a good problem to have. So we have to see if we're going to even be able to leverage the funding. If we leverage the funding, then there will be time to work out the details. But we already have some local contractors in the area that could do the work, and they've already, I'm sure it'll go out for bid, right? But some of the local contractors have already proved that they're good at removing these old dilapidated structures. So I want to see how it progresses. So I understand that you take a little bit of pause, but I also think this could be a really good thing for our community.
I'm not against it. The only thing is that we've seen if we've got properties that landowners are willing to go with that there.
You could.
I just want, you could speak up a little bit, Mr. Stevenson.
The contractor is going to be able to dismantle those properties with the landowner's willingness. In the past, when we've had some properties that are unsafe around the community, and you got the landowners that are not cooperative to take care of them, that's where we've kind of run into roadblocks to try to help clean up the community. So I know I'm not against this piece in here, but I just wanted to see what our next steps was to progress from there and not hit a brick wall again and not be able to go anywhere.
So, also, the Public Works Director in Upton, he's actually done this in their community, and to great effect, right? So, we have our staff that's been working with him, and he's rubbing off on them, and he's kind of showing them the process and the way that it was done in their community. So I think that we're gonna have great success once we get going. But it's an uncomfortable thing, but we can't just let these dilapidated properties exist in our community and make us look bad and not be useful, you know, so I think that we're gonna be able to get it done. And with the council's help and the vote on the resolution, I think that, that we're gonna be able to get the work done.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, along with this resolution that's being discussed, we looked at some raw data from building permits that were issued the last 5 years. It's showing an upward trend. I focus mainly on new houses or new homes being built. It's showing, albeit these are not huge numbers, but they're showing an upward trend of a need because some of those houses are going in places that are not necessarily the dilapidated properties, but it's showing an upward trend regardless of what happens with RER for that situation.
Yeah. And then something else that I want to throw out too is we're also in an interesting position right now with the closure of landfill number 2. So one of the things that we were kind of looking at, and you know, I kind of thought that maybe the council was aware of some of these ideas, but maybe, but anyway, regardless if you are or not, right? We need to put a cap on landfill number 2. And we might be able to offer an incentive as the city to allow people to dump the construction debris in on the landfill that we have to close by 2027 for free as a way to meet the requirement for cover in the old landfill that we're trying to close. And maybe that would spur some positive response from citizens if they didn't have to pay for all of the weight of the refuse. So there's been a lot of thinking on this. And I myself, as the mayor, have just been brought in on some of it only a couple of months ago. But this joint venture with another community is pretty unheard of at the state legislature. You know, networking and applying as a unit from a county is pretty unprecedented. And so there's a lot of hope that would make them more amicable to leveraging us this funding. So, anyway, is there any further discussion? Oh, okay, Mr. Lacy, what's going on?
I'd just like to ask one question. Does that mean the city will become a real estate agent? In a roundabout way.
There's different ways to look at it, Mr. Lacy. We want to clean up our town, right?
I'm just asking a question.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm just enunciating loudly so you can hear me.
Can I answer that question? The last time, Mr. Lacy, that we had property for sale, we did a cul-de-sac up there behind Weston Park, and what we did there is we opened the properties to all of the realtors in Newcastle area, and they all could sell the property. So we didn't have anything to do with much the sales or anything. It was the regular people who know the business.
That was my question. Yes.
Okay.
I know.
That's how we handled the last property.
Up there. It's up the street from my house. I know all of that.
Then there's ideas about this too, Mr. Lacy, where, you know, like, we start to mitigate the dilapidated properties, right? We clean them up, we make them ready for somebody to build, right? And then, say we build a house, right? Then we could try to convince people that are living in, you know, some of the rougher structures in Newcastle, maybe they want to occupy this structure, and then we can tear down this other one. And we're trying to make it like a reciprocal thing in the future, like as we move forward. But this is another thing that's just, it's theoretical right now. We have to see where it goes, right? So, but we're doing something, right? So try to clean up the town, try to make it more positive for people that are looking for a place to live, to want to come and live in our community.
Let's hope we have the problem of new real estate sales.
Yeah, like that's a symptom of, you know, what we're trying to affect here. Yeah, and those are the kind of problems we wanna have. So,
Can I say one more thing?
oh yeah, go ahead, Mr. Lee.
I applaud your idea about the dump. I think that's a good idea to get some of the refuse out of town out there if it can be used for cover. That's thinking out of the box for a change.
Yeah, and, so that one was actually presented to me by our Public Works Director and his work with, some of the folks at the DEQ and also, Mark Lindstrom with Upton. So there's a lot of people that are thinking about some of this stuff, and then, us as the county, or city council, excuse me, I'm saying county too much tonight. City council, are trying to support our people and move this stuff along, so.
Thank
But
you.
anyway, yep, thanks, Mr. Lacy. Is there anything further? Anything further? Hearing nothing, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed signify by saying nay. Motion carries. Was there a question? Okay. Let's see. All right, moving on to item number 3, engineer Stephen Dietrich.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, from the engineering report tonight, relatively brief. There was no, from a building permit perspective, there was no residential building permits issued in the last couple of weeks. Quite frankly, it's probably because of the time of year. So there's nothing to report there. So therefore, there's no construction costs or permit fees that were associated with that. From the commercial construction projects, we still have the Dollar General that is very close to being able to be ready to open its doors. In speaking with the project, the main project contractor out there, we're looking to put in the rest of the shelving and stock the store sometime next month.
The new store. This is the one-stop shop. We have a pharmacy. We have a bootlegger's liquor. The deli, the food that you can get at a lunchtime is so amazing. The coffee shop. Certain Friday mornings, there's 30 people sitting here in all these chairs. This is the hub for people to come and visit, have their coffee, have their donuts. It's amazing what this area has done. Totally amazing.
And if everything goes according to plan, they should be able to get a CTO from certificate to occupy from the engineering department here. And they've already been looking at whatever date they're going to try to open. It may happen as soon as next month. So more on that is developed, but the building is built. Okay. And then any questions on the open permits or that part?
Yeah, Steve, I have one more question. Can you tell me what the Sundowner's working on?
The motel?
Yeah.
It's been a while since I've spoken with them, but they have had an ongoing project that's been going on before I even started. They had some, trying to reuse or regrade or do something for the pavement area around the building, is what I thought they were working on at one time.
This looks like they're putting a new roof on something in the back of the motel.
Yes, and I don't know the answer to that question. Okay, I'll have to look into that. Okay. For the next part of what I was going to bring up this evening, down under the staff section of the report, the building inspector position is still vacant. What we've been working on is funding sources so that we can try to hire the position full-time. Along with the discussion you heard earlier from the mayor talking with the town of Upton, we're also looking at, is it feasible to do a memorandum of agreement to share the building inspector that we have yet to hire with the town of Upton at some capacity and some frequency, as a way to further that working together concept. It seems to be a little bit rare, but it could be a good thing to help any future efforts for housing needs, because you gotta build houses, get the building permit to do that, so on and so forth. Along with that, I've been working on getting a module built using the same Novo Solutions platform that Public Works already has in place, but we're building a module to help with online building permits, application submittal, so that we're not so paper heavy, and that we could actually be more efficient with our time, as well as being able to be more responsive to the needs, especially when construction season picks up. So working smarter, not harder. And I'll pause there for any questions.
No questions?
That's the end of my report for tonight.
All right. So, no further questions or any questions for engineer Dietrich? Hearing none, we'll move on. Thank you, Steve. Moving on to item number 4, Police Chief Derek Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The first item are the calls for service between December 15th and January 16th. Since I was absent at the last meeting, Newcastle Police Department 383 made 7 arrests and issued 21 criminal citations. Weston County Sheriff's Office 149, Upton Police Department 198, Newcastle Volunteer Fire Department 5, Weston County Fire Protection District 26. Of those 26, keep in mind a lot of those are just controlled burn reports. We don't have all sorts of wildfires going on or anything. Upton Volunteer Fire Department 1, Newcastle Ambulance 38. In Newcastle, there were 28 of those calls, 5 of which were ambulance transfers from the hospital, 7 in Weston County, 1 in Osage, and 2 in Custer County. And there were 13 calls for the Upton ambulance. The second item is the generator that will power the dispatch center in this entire building has been installed. In my reports that I sent out, I said the final step of looping the generator and the power system will be done on January 20th, which was this morning at 8 a.m. We did have to take the power to the building down, but we sustained that with a different generator. So we maintained communication in the dispatch center for the first time 100% successfully without taking any server or any phone system or anything down. So we finally got all our battery backup stuff figured out to be able to take it down and then bring it back up with generator power. So I felt good about that. This generator is still not in service though, as we were waiting for Black Hills Energy is waiting for some specific orifice to put in the gas line in order to get fuel to the generator. But that hopefully will be coming any day. That's the final step in getting it functioning, and then we will do a test to make sure that it's transferring as it should. And then the last item is just a minor thing, but I just thought I'd let the council know, and Greg's not here tonight, but 21 Electric came to look at the light at the bottom of the ramp. The light is perfectly fine. It has a photo eye on it. For some reason, somebody bought a switch that has a timer built into it. I have no idea why. It makes no sense to me. If it has a photo eye, I don't know why it needs an additional timer.
So is that why it's off?
The timer is not set right, and when you manually turn it on, it automatically turns itself off. So once I figure out how to program that switch, we should have that little problem fixed.
Good.
So, and then the next attachments are the breakdown for the call. That is all I have at the moment.
Does anybody have any further questions for Police Chief Thompson?
I have a couple. So I'm just curious, on how long has the dog been in service?
Technically in service for probably right at a year.
Just a year?
Mhm.
And is it, I mean, is it carrying its load?
I guess you'd have to expound on that question.
Is it paying for itself?
As far as numbers?
Well, that's for just use.
Yeah, there's kind of two effects to it. The idea was to put it in the school, right? And that was when we had a school resource officer, which we have done. But it surely seems to have had a good deterrent effect because we haven't found any controlled substances in the school for some time now. So that's a very positive outcome from it. And there have been several other arrests made utilizing that dog and several other agency assist arrests or other agencies that have been able to utilize the dog as well. So I would say it's paying for itself. I think that's going to continue to improve. I would like to see it better. But with staffing numbers increasing and spreading the workload out just a little bit, I think he's going to be able to utilize it more than we have been. And I think it will continue to improve.
Because it was about a month ago, I witnessed it out here in the parking lot, and he didn't have it on a leash, and it was running everywhere. Crazy. And he did everything he could to get that dog to load up, and he would not listen. I was just kind of curious because of the training. I mean, the amount of training we got in it, he doesn't obey his master very well.
And I have seen sometimes he's a little moody, I'll be honest with you. Some days he's in a poor mood, for lack of a better term. But when you're dealing with a detection dog, they actually don't have nearly the obedience training that a apprehension dog would have.
So it needs to be on a leash.
Substantial amount of training.
May I say something? And I'm
Well,
may I say something about the dog, please? I've seen something,
Go ahead, Kathy.
because I was out here in the parking lot with Sergeant Kavinsky. And now I've seen service dogs, I've seen them approach car. You approach the car, the dog never is trained to bark at that person. If they're standing with, like I am, from Chief Thompson. That dog growled and snarled at me. There was no reason for that. That dog is to be under control at all times. I've seen the sheriff's dog, and when we had the other officer here, let's see, can't remember his name. It's been quite a few years ago. His dog was always under command. He was a drug dog, like this one, or takedown. That dog stayed right here unless the person controlling that dog said, now, or whatever the command is. So, I've seen some very nasty things about that dog I don't like. And I'm scared of dogs. I've been bit in the face. And I was told I was standing too close to the car, so I backed out. The dog is still doing the same thing. I don't do drugs, people. I don't take any medicines. I don't drink. I take no medicine. I
The
don't
dog
drink.
was secured in the vehicle.
He was in the vehicle, but he was ramming the window.
I've been around a lot of canines in my career, and almost every single one of them do that very thing.
Not the ones I've seen.
In all of your law enforcement work? Or?
No, in
Okay.
the years I've seen dogs in command, with an officer. Just like the German Shepherd dog, the sheriff's department. A dog has never growled at the window at me. It behaves when it's in public with the people and it's not under command and he's, playing ball. The dog will come up, sniff you, he will lick your hand.
Okay.
That is the way but when they're under command, yes, they're to attack, they're to do their job. But that dog is part pit bull. And I tell you, I've seen what pit bulls can do.
Thank you for your comment, Kathy. We'll go ahead and move on now. Is there any further questions?
The other question I had was, and it's kind of penny, but what do we gotta do to get your officers to wash their cars?
Dog washing.
We've done that. You've done that before. And I guarantee you the one that Jacob's driving has not been washed since he's had it. I mean, they just need to be clean. And we've got, isn't there a pressure washer at the shop?
There is a pressure washer at the shop, yeah. Okay, did you have anything?
That's it.
Okay, anything further for Chief Thompson? Do you have anything else, Chief?
I don't think so.
Okay. Thank you for working this shift on the street, Chief.
You bet.
All right, thank you, Chief Thompson. We'll move on to item number 5, Attorney Double.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. First thing I wanted to discuss was, in the event that we do get a building inspector, and it's a joint employment opportunity, I'll be bringing to council a conflict waiver. Obviously, whether it's Upton who's drafting it or Newcastle who's drafting it, it will either be my dad or myself in the same firm. So obviously we can't just do dual business in that manner, and if the council wishes for me to draft it, then I will bring that, and the conflict waiver will be put in front of the council for a vote. Just wanted to put that on everyone's radar. The other thing I wanted to bring up is that our new officer and our new ordinance officer has been bringing tickets into court. We've had now a few initial, arraignments on those ordinance violations, and there have been quite a few, and it's moving forward. So,
that's a positive report, thank you.
And that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Does anybody have any further questions for Attorney Double? Hearing none, we'll go ahead and move on to the claims against the city dated January 20th, 2026. Do we have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, excuse myself.
Thank you. Councilman Kenny.
Your Honor, I move that this August letter paid with bill.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion properly seconded to pay the claims against the city dated January 20th, 2026. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed signify by saying nay. Motion carries. Wait for Councilman Kenny to get back to his seat. We have a motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion properly seconded. We'll adjourn at 8:14. Thank you, public, for attending the meeting, and thanks for the engagement.